this is Manic Insomniac, and welcome to another episode of D&D Player Moments. These episodes are basically going to be whenever something really interesting happens in a game and I just want to ramble about it a little bit. So basically this Wednesday's game, this Wednesday gone, which was the 24th of February, we had one of those moments. The end of the session was ridiculously interested in terms of party dynamics and player responses and everything. And it could basically mean the end of one of my current characters, something but in the most epic way possible, which I would not have any problems with, like, as a potential ending note for a character. This is perhaps the most interesting and beyond my wildest dreams. Like, there's D&D characters just tend to die, but this would mean something, which is fantastic. So, a little bit of history. This is the Kurabel campaign, which I've talked about now and then. And our party has basically been wandering around this ancient dwarven city in the side of in a mountain called Zenkel. Now, this is an interesting place. Several thousand years before the game, dwarves basically ruled this entire area, and they were a very, very advanced society for D&D anyway. Like, this is a world where everybody runs around with swords and axes and there's magic and stuff, but dwarves were a step beyond that. You know, normally how it's elves, but in this campaign it's dwarves, and I think parallels have been drawn between this campaign's dwarves and, say, like stuff like the Dwemer from Elder Scrolls. You know, they've got automatons, they've got magitech, it's all sorts of that type of thing. But basically, sometime around, the reason for their downfall was this massive rebellion that succeeded with the help of this dragon in overthrowing what is essentially become one of their gods, I guess, from the name. Disabling a connection to where the dwarves originally came from, which is highly implied to be like another planet, or at least another realm that is not native to the world we play in now. And there is an entity known as Xenatel that was imprisoned, or parts of them, or just the connection to them, was basically blocked off. Now, the dwarves, basically, without access to this power, who are highly reliant on this connection with their origin world or location or whatever, slowly lost to the rebellion. So Zenkel was one of these cities that was basically set up to try and repair the damage. And we are basically, our entire campaign has revolved about getting into there. Even one of our earliest quests was about getting the key to this secret area. Now, this secret area is a bit bigger than what we thought it might be. It is basically split into 5 facilities, all interconnected, accessible by portals. We've basically been calling them, or at least making jokes, calling them stargates, because essentially that's what they are, except you can see roughly through them and stuff like that. And we are only going, at best, a couple of hundred meters to a mile away in most circumstances, but there is it has been also heavily implied that we can basically go anywhere there is a portal as long as we have the correct key. So theoretically we can go anywhere on the planet so long as there is a portal there and we have a corresponding key, which is fantastic. But yeah, so possibly, I'm just trying to think back, it's probably been about maybe 30 sessions plus and months of in-game time. We've been rolling around these four of the facilities. The 5th one is locked out until we can get the key of the administrator from each of the 4 facilities, plus the secret key itself. We are currently standing on the key to the secret facility and 3 of the administrator passkeys. We're just about to go to the final location. And the 4 facilities are split up between different areas of research. You've got the first one we went to was called the Bioforge, which is basically dwarven research into genetics. Like, they had stuff like that. They had the genome sequences for dragons and T-Rexes and Velociraptors, and they were trying to think of ways to mix these and make more powerful warriors. They were basically trying to make Velociraptors into hunting dogs. which was an idea that came up before Jurassic World did it, which was hilarious. Like, I don't know what parallel thinking was there between our DM and that, but that was amazing. It's also heavily implied that some of the other races, like I think orcs and stuff, were basically created to be warrior races by the dwarves, which is crazy. Again, very different from what we're used to from dwarves as a society in fantasy realms. But that was the first one. We cleared that all out. But the reason why we left that one, which we intended to go back, there was a little bit more we hadn't quite finished, was that there is a portal in the southern part of the Bioforge facility that was locked into a location in the jungle on the other side of the island we're on. And this is basically implied as how they got some of the creatures. They brought them in, and it was connected to the reptile area. And because of the location of where it was, local tribes worshipped the reptiles as gods, and would even send people in to be sacrificed to them, which was hilarious. But there's been this threat in the northern jungles of the island called the Dark King and his legions of Undying warriors. Now, the Undying are another dwarven technology, which basically lobotomized people with like control cubes in their head, all controlled by this central leader with a circlet, which is magically, psychically controlling 20, 30, 40 Undying at a time, and there's different hierarchies of circlets and stuff. But basically, they invaded. They came in for the portal, and they were smashing through the walls to get to us. So we left. We locked the portal behind us because we had one of the higher level keys, and we've just ignored it for the most part. But we were aware that there was a canyon between outside of the administrator's office. There was a window, and there's a canyon in there, and there was another window on the far side of the canyon. But that between the two areas, mushrooms were spreading out, which we basically worked out was the second of the facilities known as the botanical facility. We haven't been there yet. So the next place we went was engineering, basically using the thought that engineering was also the power supply, partly so we could power up some of the technology we'd found, and partly so we could shut off power to the Bioforge, trapping and starving them out. We also activated the traps in there several times, frying whoever was within with high electrical currents that was basically designed to subdue dinosaurs and all that type of stuff. So we completed the engineering section, which was quite not as dangerous as some of the others. Mostly automatons working on keeping the power running. So we did that. Next we went to the pathogen facility, which was all diseases and was full of like different types of basically zombie. There was ones with rubbery skin that were hard to damage and very intelligent. There was rage-filled zombies that had bone growths that could impale you on them and bear hug you to death because he'd just rub you on the bones. There was fungal growth ones that would explode and just basically fill you full of diseases. And now that those ones actually infected several of our party members. I think myself, the other dwarf character, and the mage, who was actually infected twice. Only our monk, because they're immune to two diseases, was fine. And I think the final type of zombie was just the more traditional rotting skin one. But we cleared that without much difficulty, even though I almost died to that. In trying to take out the administrator of that facility, we basically hatched a plan where the monk used this ability he's got called Shadow Step, jumped between the shadows to attack with the other dwarf fighter to take out the leader, whilst myself, a monkey automaton, which was one of the creatures we'd managed to pick up along the way, and the mage engaged his 3 bodyguards. And the bodyguards basically almost killed me were it not for a reroll our DM kindly gave us as a Christmas present. He gave us all a reroll, so I just had him reroll the damage caused because they outright killed me. I think one knocked me down to 0, the other rolled a 10 and just wiped me out, which was horrible. But we got past it. But to get to the story I meant to tell, we invaded we decided to go and check out the botanical area. And along the way, we was encountering this technology that was basically caused cryosleep after a fashion. The Bioforge had it. There was a number of NPCs in our party that was rescued from these. They've been locked out of time for 2,000 years. They were part of the rebellion itself, and were being captured and basically turned into test subjects by the dwarves. There was a cleric and a couple of warriors. We also saw this in the engineering section, where the chief engineer administrator, as second in command, had basically fallen pregnant and decided that she didn't want to be trapped there. She wanted to save her baby any way she could. So they subverted the cryo technology there, used it to kill the administrator, and trapped the baby in a small cryo pod. And the baby's actually still there. We haven't decided what to do with it. We've left it where it is for now because it's been safe for 2,000 years. I think we intend to return to it once we've finished everything off, rather than carry a baby around for a while. This little 2,000 out of place dwarven baby. Now, the cryo technology isn't like ice and stuff. It's literally desyncing them from time, which, yeah, crazy. The dwarves are so. It reminds me of that. I think it's Arthur C. Clarke. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And apparently the ancient dwarfs even treated magic as a technology of itself. They called it transfacial energy and all that type of stuff, which has had some interesting repercussions, as we have a intelligent sword that is possessed by the spirit of one of these ancient dwarves, which is done intentionally. It's just something they did, apparently. So we've had some interesting conversations with him regarding magic. But this is how the engineer was killed. You can stop time. You can also speed it up. And they basically, whilst the chief engineer was having dinner one day, they sped up. They activated the cryo technology in his office and sped up time and just aged him to death in an instant. So we was aware of all this stuff. We know that there is an army of Undying, led by several clerics and presumably one of the lieutenants of the Dark King within the Bioforge, and potentially have access to Botanical. We also were aware of cryotechnology and its potential abilities. We also know that the circlet used to control the Undyings have a hierarchy, and higher level circlets can control lower level circuits, or at least just spy on them. And we have one of the circlets. One of the dwarves in the party, Thorfus, has been using them, one to control several automatons we subverted and used to our own ends, a number of monkeys running around, and also several grappling type robots that was used to herd patients around at several points. So when we step through the portal, because we know that Thorfus had been subjected to the higher level circuits before, the party tied a rope around him. So when he stepped through the portal, if they was on the other side and picked up his presence, they could just yank him back and pull the circlet off. Now, I had been to the Botanical before. When we first scouted that entire region, we just entered into the portal room. So I just stepped through, and Thorfus followed me. And then time stopped for us, and we had no idea what happened. The only time would move was when something passed through the portal, and for that split second we'd continue in our movement. Now obviously the rest of the party on the other side of the portal noticed us freeze, because it's a hazy image but you can kind of see through, and pulled Thorfus back with difficulty because he was essentially frozen in time, but they pulled him back. But they couldn't get me. And as things passed through the portal, I'd slowly turn round, and I couldn't do anything. Anyway, they rescued Thorfus, and they realised that spears couldn't pass through the portal. Like, it gets stuck halfway, and because the tip is basically stuck in time, they couldn't get a rope through. I think the monk tested pressing his hand through, and he couldn't get it past just the first layer of his skin, and pulling his hand back, he actually ripped off a layer of his skin and stuff like that. They were very fortunate to get Thorfus back, trust me. So they tried cycling the power to try to see if that would deactivate the cryo area that's obviously on the other side of this portal. And when they cycle it back on, a door at the end of the room, which we was heading towards, opened, and on the other side was one of the Undying holding a wall plate that had written a message for me on it. And I'm just going to quickly read that message. Let me just find it out. So basically, they'd intended to capture us. No, they knew Thorfus by name, so the message they had written on this wall panel, probably in blood by the looks of it, said, "To Thorfus of the Iron Hand clan, Ilske, war leader of the Lord Marshal's Western forces, proposes a trade. In exchange for your comrade and the platinum key you seek, close the gate and return power to the Bioforge facility for 1 day. At the end of the day, reopen the gate and collect your prizes. Refuse, and your comrade will age to dust in a moment's time, and the key will be destroyed. Answer by written message visible through the portal in 1 hour with a simple yes or no." So yeah, that is the situation we're in. Now, theoretically, the party turns the power to the Bioforge on, the portal to the jungle opens, their forces leave, because they've basically been trapped there for over a month, living off the mushrooms in the botany. We get the last key we need, and they return me. But these are the bad guys, who we've killed several of their number. We've stole technology from them. The party doesn't trust them. They fully expect that should we turn the power on, they kill me. They take the key and they just leave, and then we're stuck. We can't complete the quests we're on, and they lose the second highest level fighter in the party, also my character. So they cycled the power, and they turned off the power to the botanical section, and the time thing deactivated, and I was allowed to move. And I've basically talked to the clerics leading the Undying in the section. I had to break down a door to get to them because I was basically trapped in a room. And they basically said, "Your friends are being unreasonable. We just want to get out," stuff like that. And I'm just like, I tried to bargain my way out of it. Like, I've got keys to the facility, all that type of thing, but obviously without power, they can't do anything. And if the power comes on, the whole area freezes. So again, can't do anything. So I basically wrote an extra message on my shield, go, "Guys, they want to leave, let them out, help me." And then after a few minutes, my party decided to turn the power on and see if anything changed, and they turned the power on. My character's basically sat at the door on the end of the room, holding the shield up with this message on. I think I decided to sit down and eat with the enemy sat behind me. So they saw this, and they thought about it, and they turned the power off again. And when it came to, I was talking to the cleric once more. When they cycled the portal a second time, cycled the power a second time, my character had aged 27 years. And the cleric was stood behind me holding his 3 fingers up. I changed my message to, "Guys, they're seriously going to kill me, help." And that is where we ended the session. Currently, my fellow players are trying to decide what to do. We have a private chat thing where they're all running through, and I'm just trying to stay out of it. I've already told the GM what I intend to do in certain circumstances, depending on what they want to do. But this is a very, very interesting thing. This is not just an NPC, this is another player's character, and one that's had a close brush with death very, very recently. And one of the characters that have been in the campaign now for 97 sessions. My character Axel and the dwarf Thorfus, we're both dwarves. We're also the oldest characters in the thing. We were both there session 1. We're almost like best friends in a way, if you think in terms of campaign and stuff like that. We've got a lot of history, but it seems like an unsolvable thing. They're currently trying to work out what to do. They could cycle the power and run around behind, enter the Bioforge and come up into Botany and try and rescue me that way. They've also considered the fact that one of our old characters, Finkelmer, a wizard, bound himself to an ancient dwarven digging machine that basically is the sandworms from Dune. Yeah, and he's currently digging his way down. They're wondering if they could have him dig down, and it's a very powerful creature. This with a wizard in it, like a 5th level wizard in it, who can still cast some spells. Um, so that's a potential, and they're just trying to work out what to do. But the character interactions, like they know what I'm saying as players, but the characters don't know. There's all sorts of role playing stuff, and it's just been amazingly interesting. And we've even spoken to the DM, and this wasn't a trap he planned from months in advance. The pieces just kind of fell into place apparently for him, which is just crazy. Like all this stuff was there, and it's always been a potential thing, and we just it was such a masterfully created trap. Like kudos to our DM, he's done very well, and all the players are just like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? I'm trying not to say what I'm going to do, my actions next, because it could sway the votes, I guess. Well, currently, when we play next Wednesday, I still have agency, but I told the cleric that whatever to await my party's decision, and then I will leave my final messages for them that way. So that's the knowledge they've got. But yeah, that is a crazy situation. Like it's great for role playing, and this is the type of stuff I want to play in D&D for. Like if my character dies now, I'd be like, yeah, you know what, that is a great death. Like you can't argue with that. This isn't just some silly combat with some goblins where you just took a few too many bad dice rolls or something. This isn't. Even the combat where I almost died recently, it was epic in a way, and I distracted the bodyguards long enough for the other players to take out the leader and the goal. But yeah, this is just epic. So if I die here, I'll die happy. But the also funny thing about the fact that I was aged 27 years is I've passed the threshold. My dwarf was a young dwarf; he was just 50 years old, and we're only 6 months into game time. Um, so he hasn't yet had his birthday. I think we worked at birthdays this session as well, because I remembered I get extra strength and stuff. And strength is one of the things I need to, because of how AD&D works. I need 17 strength to be able to go past 7 level. I had 15, I now have 16, so I got that, yay, which is hilarious because Thorfus needs an extra strength. He's at 16, he needs 17, and he's already past that aging stage, so he needs to find another way to gain strength permanently. Which, so yeah, I have nothing else to say. Like, this is what I play D&D for, though. This type of situation, it's not just about the combat, it is about the crazy stuff you can get into, and traps, and trying to work out a puzzle in a way. So I hope you enjoyed listening to this, and I hope I got across some of the emotions and the excitement I've got from playing this. Like I've said, like basically it's a horrible situation for the other players. My character's possibly almost likely going to die, but I was giddy with excitement playing. Like I was sat there grinning, listening to the players agonize over it, which is horrible. It's horrible in a way, but this is why I play D&D. I hope you enjoyed this little chat. If you did, please drop a like and comment if you've had similar situations. Like, let me know. Like, it's great to hear some more stories, and hopefully I can get some more people to come on, and we can have a little chat, and they can talk about some of their stories. That would be an interesting thing I want to do. So until next time, I've been Manic Insomniac. Good night.